Hey, do you have family that you know is an immigrant, but you don't know where they are actually from, or you know the general area, like Italy or Ireland, but you don't know what region, what city it is? But I got 5 tips that'll help you get you where you're going to figure out where your immigrant family is from. So let's go first. I'm always gonna use Mia Familia as an example. So I like to use, I know Mio Bisnono, my great grandfather, Pietro Randazzo. I know he was an immigrant. So we'll go there. So the census will get you in the right direction, but it's not going to be very specific. So if you have no idea where your immigrant family may be from, then this may help at least narrow it down. It'll give you an idea of where they're from. So here, this is the 1920 U.S. Census, and there is Mio Bisnono, Peter Randazzo on Atlantic Avenue by the docks. And so if you come down over here, it will say birthplace, Italy. Now, if you've seen my video, and if not, you should. All Sicilian's Italian. I take a little issue here, but that's not the point of this particular video. Italy. Not very specific, of course. And he wasn't even from Italy. He was from Sicily. But this gets you on the right path. So being the type of neighbor, see, we have a Spanish here. Oh, we have a few Irish. Let's see, what's the name of them there? Ford. So they're from Ireland. We have France, Syria. Oh, a few from Syria. A lot from Italy. So a lot from Italy over there by the docks. So not a big surprise there. And of course, my great grandmother, Ninfa Pecoraro's brother, Frank Pecoraro, is right here also. Plus, what's really good here, and you can't always go by this because there was a lot of travel back and forth. So it depends, So this says that Peter first, when the year he immigrated was 1906, and his wife came over with the kids, with the child, 1909. This is actually accurate. They didn't travel back and forth from what I've seen too much. This is but it's not always accurate. So they may have come once and then they went back, so there may be multiple years. So this may not be the first year that they came over. So keep that in mind.
You are down by one, boy.
Another thing that we can use to find out, especially if they were male, and depending on what year it was, if they were around, around 1917, 1918, or in the mid 40s in the United States, that is, then you can go to draft records. And draft records are usually pretty specific. Not always the case, because it'll have place of birth and obviously some of the early ones, what the nationality was. This one, very lucky. We got Andrew Gagagliano, who is a cugino to mia nonna Caterina Gagagliano. This was really cool because this particular World War II registration, they were very specific, and it says Carini. It's right there. Bada boom, bada bing. We know. But because they're not always specific like that, it doesn't always, you don't always know. Here, I'm very lucky. So an example of one that's not very specific, I'll go back to Mia Bisnono, Pietro Randazzo, and yeah, you see here, yeah, it says Italy. Again, why? I don't know. I guess that's just what they did. It was political. But here, again, it narrows it down, which is very unfortunate that my my great grandfather was not specific on here. Thank goodness here, yeah. So some of them are going to be specific. So some of them may actually say Palermo. That's what happened with the Zimbardo family when I did the video about Dr. Philip Zimbardo. If you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. World famous psychiatrist from Carini. Family's from Carini. Name for Filippo Zimbardo, his grandfather. Filippo Zimbardo's was not. It said Palermo. So it's a little misleading there. It could actually be Palermo, the city where Carlo Gambino is from, but Palermo is the province, so it's not very specific. So you got to be very careful if it just says Palermo if you're researching Italy or Italian or Siciliano. So now the third one that is going to help out is going to be vital records. So you're going to have birth, marriage and death records. And so there's going to be different information depending on where you're getting it, what state. New York is not so good. But in my example here, New York actually was pretty good. But here, the New York marriage record, really good. Most marriage records are pretty good. They will have at least where the bride and groom are from. Some of them are really good in that they have where everybody is from in the marriage party, which is really cool. New York, no. But here, this is just an example. This is my grandparents' marriage record, 1935 in Brooklyn, Salvador. And of course, my grandfather, Salvador Randazzo, was the first Randazzo born in Brooklyn of my direct line. And of course, that's where he's on the birthplace, Brooklyn. But my grandmother was not born in Brooklyn. She was an immigrant. And of course, she was born in Carini, Sicilia. It says Carini, Italy, but hey, you know, we can excuse that. That's probably the clerk that did that. So this here is a marriage record that has the city. Again, it could just say Palermo, or let's say if it's Ireland, it could just say County Kerry. So you'll have a little more, but at least it's getting you a particular area. So this was really cool to find. You get a lot of marriage records that will have where the immigrant, like my grandmother, was from, and it's very specific. The other one is death records. So this is a pretty good death record. Pennsylvania, usually really good. Missouri, really good. Michigan, the death records, really detailed, really good. This is for Giuseppe Cucuzza, who passed away in January 1950, and this was in Pennsylvania. And if you look here, right here in the middle, if you look here in the middle, the birthplace is given, very specific, Carini. It says Italy, but we're going to have to excuse that here. But here we do know. So you also have Ellis Island records, which aren't the most accurate. I get it, but they are a really good source. So for an example of an Ellis Island record that's really good, and again, the ones after 1910 were really good, more specific, and easier to read, and a lot of them were typed up. So I believe that my grandmother's is actually typed. Yes, yeah, it is actually typed, so it's very, very easy to read. And so you can see, this is where they want to know where they're coming from. And it says city or town, which is awesome. We can see down here, all from Carini. Now, it could actually be the last town of residence, which could be really close to where they are. But again, you're getting much, much closer. So these records are really good. And you can also look on the other side. So this is the later ones for Ellis Island did have additional pages. So, and it's not just Ellis Island records, but all travel records for that you'll have this basic information, because this is all run by the federal government. So you can go to the other side. Now, always check the before and after. So here, there's going to be another side to this, that's to where they're actually going. So Caterina Gargaiano is on line 17. That's Mia Nona. So we're going to go to 17 on the other side, and father as above here, and husband, which is my great grandmother here. They're going to 35 Pacific Street in Brooklyn to Francesco Gargaiano, which of course is my great grandfather. So that helps narrow it down also. But as good as these four are, the holy grail of finding where your immigrant family came from is if they did get naturalized or they started going through the process. Because the majority of the time, unlike the draft record, they're going to be very specific on where they're from and when they were born on the naturalization document. So I'm going to use my great-grandfather, Pietro Randazzo, as an example again, and we'll go to his naturalization document. So this is it. They're on Hicks Street, again, right near the docks. He was a longshoreman. Right there, that's his date of birth, and he was born in Carini. All right, again, you got to excuse me on that. It's one of those things that just gets under my skin. It's just like gravy and sauce. It's not gravy, it's sauce. You don't put gravy on spaghetti. So, but this is the holy grail. Anytime you look at a naturalization record, this is what you're going to get. You're going to probably have 9 times out of 10, you're going to have the actual city that they were born in overseas before they immigrated to the United States. So this is as good as it gets. So I actually have a lot of naturalization records. So we'll take a look at another one, especially since this one is typed and it is really, really easy to read. So here we have Rosalia Finazzo, who is, and right there, Carini, yeah, stop it. And she immigrated to Cleveland, Ohio. And it also shows that her husband, Vincenzo, was born in Carini also. And it shows, of course, where, when they came in and the particular ship that they came in on. And it gives their last known foreign resident. It also gives their children. So the information is there. Boom, Carini. Very specific. That's going to be your holy grail. Typically, if you can't find that, you may not. Possibly you have to get on Find a Grave and maybe get an obituary depending on when they passed away. But those are the 5 ways to go about trying to find where your family who are immigrants came from if you don't know where they came from. So those 5 tips will definitely get you on your way and at least narrow down to where your immigrant family may be from. I will throw out what I've found with having Sicilian immigrants and the way Sicilians were treated. Hey, the largest mass lynching in American history were against Sicilians, not Italians. They owe another. So Sicilians, being that Sicilians did not have a good time when they first started immigrating, they didn't necessarily participate in the census and have other documentation. So it might make it very difficult. And there are some that I have Gargaiano family that came over and just fell off the map. They just no documents whatsoever. If you go to, just trust me, if you want to find out, go into Ancestry and search in Gargaiano and see how much you get. Not very much. There's not very much at all, which is really unfortunate, but that's something you may encounter when you're doing it. You have to keep in mind about certain, groups that came over, had it worse than others. And so that's going to impact the historical record that they left behind. So hopefully that's not the case with you. And if you do have a brick wall, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.